go.
It's like we hold our breath to make sure it works.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, is it going to work this time? Is it going to work this time? Should we like,
I'm like, oh,
knock on your head, do a dance, spin around. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to us, to me and Christel, us, the story of us. It's been a minute. We're just talking about how when we were in Paris and we were bloated.
from all the charcuterie and cheese.
Oh my gosh. I looked at those pictures. Really, we were talking about like the podcast and stuff. And there's pictures of, I look like a chipmunk. And
like, oh my God.
Like we're like my face had no room to smile.
And we lost weight. That was the weird thing. Oh my God.
I lost 10 pounds. And I came home looking like a chipmunk.
I know.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you put your weight back on? Because I put it back on instantly.
I feel like I haven't put my weight back on, but I haven't been working out as much as I used to. Not since, when my mom got sick in December.
Yeah.
Usually I was going like 4 or 5 times a week. And right now I'm going 2, maybe 3, but insomnia has set in again. It's been back like a vengeance. So like I have every intention to go, and I think my limit is like I can go in the morning with 4 hours of sleep, and it hasn't been that way. It's been like 2 hours, and then I'm like, fuck, and then I'm like canceling, pulling out of the class that I signed up for. So I'm just racking up all of these late cancellation fees.
Well, you know what though, this is a really good thing that you brought up, because today, guys, our episode is finding joy and gratitude in the reality of life. Let's really talk about this, because I actually have a similar issue going on myself. It's not with the yoga class, but it's with like hair and the masseuse and the dentist, late cancellation fees, being late, living in this full reality life that just isn't conducive to a luxury of a fixed schedule. And I do mean luxury. So if you are out there and you're like, what do you mean luxury? It's a luxury
for a fixed schedule.
To have the perfect schedule that never changes. That's a luxury. And I haven't had anything like that since before kids.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I was very anti-schedule when I was growing up, because I just felt like it was so monotonous and rigorous. And now I like, it would be nice to have
a schedule.
Something where, but I think at the same time as I have learned, so it isn't as bad, even with all this chaos going on right now, and is not to tightly pack my schedule. I mean, it used to just drive my husband crazy. So I think I've talked about this before, about allowing yourself literally some grace, as far as in like judging yourself and being really a harsh critic. But now it's also allowing yourself grace for, I think I can do that in 20 minutes. I can get there in 20 minutes. But, I allow, okay, well, I had to allow room for error and margin, a margin of error here, like traffic, phone calls,
getting lost.
Yeah. My mom,
my mom.
They always have like, hey, can you fix something on my phone? I can't log in. Or
we just had this literally just happened. Then I have guilt, by the way, because like I was talking to my mom just now. She called like twice while we were trying to do this this stream, and I'm like, and then I felt bad because I'm like, Mom, I'm in the middle of, God forbid I'm in the middle of something. But the truth is that is reality, and that is life, which is what we're talking about. I've actually made a shift that too. I'm always that kind of person too. It's like, well, it'll take me 15 minutes to get there. And by the way, I estimate that from park to walk in. Like do you know what I mean? Like jumping in the car, parking, finding a parking place just to get in. I mean, that's how tight I keep things.
Uh-huh.
And the kids are older now too. So and that's just from a jam-packed schedule. You're right. Like back to back to back to back to back to back. So, and then the other thing and you brought this up and it really reminds me, I literally had this conversation a lot this week about having such crazy schedule, crazy life, tumultuous in the sense that I can't really, this is the plan, but it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. I've had to cancel my hair appointment, cancel my masseuse appointment. And at some point you have to be at peace with paying the fees, right? Like
there has to be like a slush fund in your account for just late fees.
Yeah. Like, because before this, if I was late and I get a late fee or, a late cancellation fee or something like that, I would really internalize it. It would be turned into an exercise on what did I do wrong? And, how could I'm being penalized because I'm bad and I was late and all this.
That you couldn't get it together.
Yeah, I couldn't get it together. And now look, you get charged. And I will tell you this, when you have that attitude about it, the people doing it also have an attitude, right? Like they register that with you and then they come at you even more, right? Like I can remember the dentist giving me shit. And I was like, and I took it because I was like, yes, I'm bad. So I've had to make this adjustment just recently, understanding that they're in it to make money too. So when you cancel, they lose money. I mean, it just is.
Right.
And that doesn't make them bad because you know what I mean? Because it's not their fault that you have a crazy ass life, but everybody has a crazy life. So literally I just kind of shifted the way I think about that whole thing. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm going to have to pay that cancellation fee. And by the way, and I offer it too. And I have wonderful people, right, that I work with, but I will offer it. With that said, do you know how many hairdressers I've been thrown out of? You do, because I've cried about it. So I can't tell you how many hairdressers, like I have a name from here to Ohio. Don't take her. Don't take her. So it's like not even an option.
You're on that blacklist.
I'm blacklisted. I'm totally blacklisted because of, hey, well, and that's another thing, in order to get in to see a hair appointment, you got to like book like 8 to 9 weeks, 10 weeks out. And I mean, I do, but within 3 months, I mean, the way my life goes, I may not even be in the country unexpectedly. Do you know what I mean? I could have been deported. It could happen. I mean, I'm a citizen, but
wait, how would they deport a citizen? Me, on the other hand, if I don't have my passport, because I have no other documentation, I could totally be like,
you're out.
Trouble with INS.
Yeah,
because I don't like have my original birth certificate. I was able to get my passport because I had everything, but then they changed everything. So like, unless I have a renewed passport, I don't have any documentation.
You're gone. But well, for me, it's all the crazy names, my mom's crazy name because she's a naturalized citizen from Montreal. She named me and then she didn't use that name. So my legal name was different from all, so I expect to be thrown out of here any minute, but I'm not. We're here. But anyway, that's not what we came to talk about. Okay. So we came to talk about today's episode, which is, again, finding the joy and the gratitude in this reality life we're living. Just to recap a little bit, we've been talking, we were so, as soon as like the masks were lifted, we're all like, yeah, let's live. I even went to the movies for the first time with the kids this week. and we sat in the back row and all this. And this is literally my first time in the movie theater. I'm like in the back row, and we had popcorn and like all this stuff. And I'm like, wow. And then all of the movie trailers right now are like opulent because they want you back, So everything is like big and come on back and look, Indiana Jones is back and come in and all these things. And so there is this real push through the media, for people in anything you do right now to not just come back, but to come back and live your best life. And what we're finding though is that a lot of us are going through heavy stuff. So everything from health issues to emotional issues to family issues to changes in lifestyle, in terms of there's divorces and separations. I mean, everybody that I know, I can't name one person right now in my life, in my circle, that isn't going through something heavy. And we wanted to talk about that today, because how do you live and be joyful and be grateful and be present while you're going through all these heavy things? And it's something that I'm really working on, certainly these past couple months. I'm trying not to lose myself, and lose who I am and my goals. And even though I can't go full throttle right now, right, and then so I don't want to do that, but also I got to figure out a way to kind of live with this without it consuming me, right? Because I can't fix and change it. I have to go through it. I got to live it.
Right. I do feel like we do. Some is worse than others. Some weeks are harder than others, and it just feels like you're just being pummeled, like everywhere you look, that there's things being thrown at you, and you're just like, okay, how am I adapting to this? How am I going to adjust for that? How am I pivoting? And I feel like sometimes it's like I don't even know where to pivot anymore. And I think right before we left for Paris, I was pummeled with some curveballs as well, and I was so like just it was almost like where you're treading water, you're barely staying afloat. Like I think my nose kept bobbing up and down from the water line. That's how I felt. But I knew there was a way that I was going to get through it, number one. But number two is I had to conserve my energy. You know what I mean? Like you have to like sit there and kind of not shut things out, but do things on the bare minimum, because you are so overwhelmed. And I hate saying the word overwhelmed, but you are there's a lot of static going on.
Yeah, I don't think that we're overwhelmed, and I think that again, that goes back to the what's wrong with me, and I was bad because I had to pay a late fee, right? Because my life was so full and I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't manage it. So it's not that you're overwhelmed and you can't manage. You have to let some things go. You can't be gripping on the steering wheel on every piece in your life. And so some things that are just not as important have to go.
Right.
I won't say go, but they can't be the most important thing that you deal with. And so sometimes that's the late fee. Just what it is. It is what it is.
I think that's going to be, I love that. I'm going to add that to our blog.
Late fees. So we wanted to talk about that today, and like, how are we getting through it? How do we do it? How are people managing it? In the past, I've always done things where it's like, well, I'm gonna, as soon as things calm down, I'll be able to do this. As soon as things, yeah, I know.
As soon as things ...
Yeah, as soon as
As soon as you say it, they're like, here's another curveball.
right? Like, it's never going to happen. So as soon as this happens, then I'll do this, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, and it's just not possible.
Uh-huh.
And it's not healthy. And just like you said, as soon as one storm ends, another one's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to find a way to be present,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on what's at hand, but also find joy and happiness and peace and all of that good stuff during the ride.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like the rapids,
Mm-hmm.
where it's wild, it's chaotic, but oh my God, isn't that beautiful? Look at the pretty tree. Oh yeah, so, and I know that our first point was, how do we do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we were talking about it. So how do we do it?
For me, I can't, this started way back when I would just, when the kids were little and I was working, trying to like maintain all of that. And I was just having so many fertility issues. And and here's a prime example, I was pregnant with Evan, and I had an event that I was about to start. And right before I walked in, the doctor's office called me and told me that, we need to have you come in and do some tests. The tests for Evan had turned out, there were signs of abnormalities. And so they told me I needed to schedule an appointment with the doctor right away. And I was walking into an event when they told me this.
Yeah.
And I was able to run the event because I was like the front runner of it, leading it and everything. And then I told my really good friend, who is also the godmother of my kids, and she goes, why did you even, how did you even hold it together? And I said, well, I didn't have all the information first. What I've learned and conditioned myself is to get all the information first. There's no point in going down that spiral of the what ifs.
Right.
What if it's this? What if it's that? When you don't have
Right.
all the information first.
Right.
So, and it is, I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously, but the more you practice it, the easier it is. And it's not being that you're not disassociating yourself, or not being
Right. Exactly.
non-caring, or dissociated or unattached from the whole thing, or
Right.
detached from the whole thing.
Right.
It's that I choose not to obsess or focus on something until I get all the information. Because if you do, and then, people just get all worked up, and you see this, like, this is the Jerry Springer show. And
Right.
I refuse to be part of that. So until I can sit down and process and get all the information and then do everything, then that's how I cope.
Right.
It's worked for me. It's still, and I'm not saying it happens every time. Sometimes you just get hit with some really heavy blows. But that has carried me through. And I've I've been in the hospital with my son in ICU when he lacerated his spleen. And we're sitting there with the doctor, and he's telling us the condition of Evan. And Evan's crying because he's thinking, I'm not going to be able to race, and my husband's passing out. And I'm like, all right, what's happening here? Let me take in all this information first, and then I'll figure out who needs help first.
Yes. I get that. I get that. I don't know. I try, I don't, it's, I think you, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not really a disassociation.
Mhm.
I try to, in those moments myself, to be more objective. I find myself being a little more analytical, maybe, and almost cross-examining things. And I think that sometimes my family doesn't understand that either, but that's how I process it, where
Mhm.
like, okay, well, I need the facts. I don't want your emotion right now, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I try and take the emotion out of it. That's how I process it as best I can. And that's hard to do. And I don't always do that, but that's what
Mhm.
I try to do is I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. Where are the facts? And then, not to say that it doesn't catch up with me either. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I just had some news, with, my son health wise, and everyone's like, and everybody kind of lost it around me, and they're like, how you holding up? Da da da. I'm like, I'm okay because again, I was like in the trenches of it. Like when I'm in the trenches, I'm in the trenches. It's about getting it done. It's about this is what needs to happen next, blah, 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 blah. But then there will be a time, and it happened, last weekend, I guess, where I was like cried. All of a sudden I was like, where's this coming from? So, and not that my son is, my son has been diagnosed with Crohn's, and it's a nasty little diagnosis. It's a nasty little thing, and he's really in a heavy fight with it. So, and as far as processing it, that's how I do it too. I do my best to try and be as objective as possible. Try and look at things factually. Um, I have a tendency to. I used to be a planner in the sense that okay, well, this is what if this happens, then I'll do this, or if this happens, then I can go here. I don't do that anymore because that's just worrying about something that may not come to pass.
Mhm.
So it's in my face, it's on my lap. I'm going to deal with it, and and logically as best I can logically, right? But if I do, and here's something else I'm learning too. It's always been, again, it goes back to your bad. If, like in your case, you continued your day, you ran the event, you did what you needed to do. More than likely, I would have done the same thing. I have had instances where I've always pushed through and pushed through and pushed through.
Mhm.
Um, I have just recently allowed myself to say, it's okay to say, hey, I can't make it, you know, I'm having some issues, or there's something that I need to attend to. I have another appointment. I have a this or I have a that. Now, of course, you can't do that if you're, um, I mean, you have to pick and choose, right? Like you can't get up every day and go, you know what, just not a good day for me. I don't mean it that way, but I'm saying like, where before I would really not do that. I'd be so paranoid about that, how unprofessional, how, you know, how this and the next thing. But I do allow myself that time sometimes to say, you know what, I just can't today, but I will tomorrow. Um, if for you it's a little different, you have a different job than I do. I mean, if I was in your position, I would not be able to do that, but I would then end up doing it with more personal things, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, a graduation party that weekend, right? Like, so if I knew I was pushing through work and trying to get everything done the way I needed to get it done, and so my only time really downtime to process, and then I had like, all these back-to-back events, which who doesn't anymore, which is again, here we go again. Um, it's okay for me now to go, you know what, I'm just not going to be able to make that. Where before I would be like, oh, I made a commitment. I can't let people down, you know. Because I think that's important. So again, you know, you can't, and the other thing is when we talk about disassociation too, you can't ignore it. So that's another thing. So if you allow your emotions to come in, like if you're looking at something and you allow all those emotions to come in, right? You either pull the covers over your head, figuratively or not, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of people will procrastinate. That's a big deal. I do that. I procrastinate all the time. It's one of the reasons I procrastinate, because I don't really want to deal with it. So, how come you're procrastinating? I don't want to deal with it.
I'll clean up the house rather than deal with it. I will
Exactly.
hide under the covers. I'll watch this movie. I
Exactly.
will online shop.
Exactly. Right. So, so there's that. But then the other thing too is, the other thing that can happen too, when you, and then again, that whole, it's overwhelming. So everything from a nervous breakdown to, not dealing with it at all, to not dealing with anything else because you can't function because you're just a wreck. So, and that's not something that's really something that I work at, and that I've been working a lot more really, in the last few years, is trying to manage everyday life, and still, and not let it drag me down. Right. Like you gotta go. And then, so what's our next point? I forgot.
I think we also have to, we're saying that we're keeping calm, that we are allowing ourselves to process, but in different ways. And I think what you both and I both do is like, hey, we can't react right now. We need to get it done. We need to see let's get all our facts first. But the other thing we need to always focus on is that everyone is going through this.
Yes.
In one way, shape, or form. They might not be going through, like right now, someone might be going through a job issue. Well, I went through that 2 years ago, but I can just be as empathetic or relatable because I've gone through that as well.
Yeah.
And
it takes the isolation out too.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I think that's where it helps, in your circle of trust, to be able to talk about it.
Right. I think so. I'm sorry.
In a safe place, but it isn't always. I know that for me, I can't. And I think this is from an old boss that I had. He goes, Christel, I hear what you're saying. So what are you doing to, is it lament about stuff, but what are you doing to cope or handle or anything? So you can't just sit there and go, woe's me, but also how are you dealing with it to get out of it or cope with it or handle it?
Yeah, because some things in life you have to cope with it, because there is no getting out of it. That is something else too that's been big for me, because I've always been able to fix everything. I've always been able to, problem solver, but I'm in a situation now and not just me, many people. You can't get out of it. You can't fix it. So you have to learn how to cope with it or handle it.
Right. And then there's the separation too. It's like I feel like this is again where we're still absorbing a lot of our kids' stuff, because like my daughter and her fiance had to move, had to find a new place to stay because of the rent increase. And so I kind of internalized that, and I was trying to figure out what can they do, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, but this is their situation. And let them, and they were fine with handling it. But I was like, what are they going to do? There's kids, blah, blah, blah. They don't have us nearby, blah, on and on and on. And they're fine. They handled it. They've got a new place. They're moving this weekend. And so again, here's me trying to fix or handle something that isn't mine to handle.
Yeah. I get you on that too. Well, that's the struggle.
And stepping back. Yeah. I'm learning to step back because I do want to help, but then at the same time, my help isn't needed.
Yeah.
And it also makes them feel like they can't handle it. And of course they're like, we're fine handling it. We're okay.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And if they weren't fine handling it and you did need to step in, you would, and it would be fine too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's really kind of the takeaway here is that, you know, again, everybody, it's kind of, you know, like I bring up the debt situation because the debt situation is like a huge situation right now in our country, you know, like people are walking around with thousands of debt, you know, thousands of dollars in debt. And how are you managing through it? So you think to yourself, oh my God, poor me, poor me. How did this happen to me? And blah, 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 blah. Well, it's happening to everybody. And the same is true with health, right? Like, so, oh my God, poor me, poor me. How did this happen to me? No, it's happening to everybody. Everybody is going through it right now. And so, you know, how do you live with that? How do you not let it consume you? I mean, I know for me at nighttime, I really believe that you need to turn it off. That's how I have to. So I've just, you know, I've learned that anything that I obsess about and freak out about and try and solve in the middle, I have a dog in here, just so you know, it's not, Santa has not come early. Miss Iris. So how do you deal with that? Like, I turn it off that's what I was trying to say. I'm like, what was I thinking? So like in the middle of the night, what I'll do is and everybody's like that, right? Because the day is over and you don't have any, you know, you no longer have any responsibilities and stuff. You're not like active. So your mind goes to those things. But I can tell you in all honesty, there hasn't been one decision or thought that I've had in the middle of the night during an obsessive moment that has been any good. You know, and every time I'm obsessing about something in the middle of the night, I always overshoot. I always hyperbolize it. Do you know what I mean? Not on purpose, but like the next day I'll wake up and go, holy shit, where was that? What were you thinking? So
you can go down that black hole like it's so easily and spiral out of control with your thoughts when you lay there and
yes,
I'm not saying you, I'm saying all of us in general.
yeah. Yeah. So I've decided now that I'm like, you know, I'm not going to solve anything now. And whatever it is keeping me up will still be there tomorrow. It's not, we're not dealing with a bomb here. You know, I don't have to diffuse it right this second. Nothing that terrible is going to happen. And I will have a better judgment and a better understanding in place to deal with it tomorrow morning. So I start with that. The other thing I do is I always do little meditational things. That's always overwhelming to some people. Even to me, it's really not that big of a deal. I kind of tap into my breathing. If you have any kind of a fitness tracker, it's super easy. They literally have it on your watch. You can just kind of tap into breathing. If I don't have a watch on, I still just breathe, right? Like really tap into paying attention to my breath. And from there, I just kind of, you know, have little conversations with myself about, you know, what am I grateful for? You know, what is going good in my life? What do I want to do tomorrow? Like, you know, so that I have a plan almost in my head and it's like, okay, I can rest now because this is going to be handled. And the other thing I do is I talk to my dead relatives because God forbid they should rest in peace. Do you know what I'm saying? Their burden in this eternity is to listen to my shit 24/7. I call on them. The only time I might have a concern about that is if I'm, you know, in the bathroom or naked. I don't think they should have to see those things. I'm hoping that my loved ones that have passed on don't tap in when I'm not presentable. That is such a stupid thing, but I literally think that. Like, I'll be in the bathroom, I'm like, oh gosh, grandma, don't come in. But no, so I talk to my loved ones. I talk to my poor departed that want to rest in peace are not allowed. And also, you know, I pray, whoever your God is, I pray to God. I do believe in God. That's me. And I you know, that's how I cope. Somebody may not, but that's really how I turn the channel. And that's what I call it. I'm changing the channel. When I'm getting to the point where I'm not being constructive anymore with my thoughts. You know, what do you do when you're sleeping or trying to?
Well, we all know that I don't sleep.
Right.
But I do more of like a journal blog type deal.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at, not in a more introspective way at myself and what, finding where that joy or gratitude is, or finding something simple to be happy about, or finding something simple to be thankful about. So, so writing all that stuff down, and then it A, helps me process, and B, it helps me sort out my feelings or my emotions. And then, oh, there's Miss Iris. And then
Just trying to get to my sign. I know, right? She's so
and
great.
then the other one I do is also, I have I have a very small circle of trust. So it's usually using one of them as a sounding board. But when I do that, I try to have something, equip myself with some options. As far as in how am I, for lack of a better term, digging myself out.
Right. Okay. Right. I got that. I'm letting Iris out so she leaves. Oh, and instead the beagle came in. This is good times. I get that. And that feels comfortable, right? Like you feel, yeah. Yeah. I get that. I do that too. But then there's the whole, because this happens. What you're going to do to dig yourself out, you kids are too much. What you're going to do to dig yourself out doesn't always work either. So it's like,
yeah. And that's the thing too, is it isn't one thing. I don't say like, this is how I'm going to do it, but I'm like, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or have you gone through this? And I'm always looking to see
right.
who might have had a similar experience and what's their take on it. And like you said, everyone's going through it or has gone through it. So there's that, there's that trying to find that solace that I'm not alone, and that I'm not, this isn't isolated to just me. This is most of the time it's universal. So I think that's where it helps me, it helps me calm down for sure.
Yeah. I get that. So the next thing is then, how do you, what's the word? I don't want to say cope or handle, but like, how do you find joy then? So these things are going to happen. That life is going to take you up and down. Life is a roller coaster ride.
Right.
Life is the rapids. And I think we have this misunderstanding in today, especially, not so much when a long time ago. I'm sorry about the whining and carrying on. My husband is outside and they want to go there and they can't. So I apologize, everyone. That's the crying and the whining. So I'm going to go through this little podcast like we're talking about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I remember my grandmother, when I was younger, my grandmother saying, you know what, not every day is a good day. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be sad sometimes. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to have emotions. But I feel like we've been really pushed into this thing today where you got to be happy all the time. Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy?
Yeah, I mean, that's what social media has done to us too. You know what I mean? As far as the highlight reel, everyone's got their highlight reel on social media. So I know that you and I both don't, we're horrible about sharing shit or posting on social media. So it's more so realizing that maybe we do need to share some of the other stuff.
But
in a sense of you, with a sense of humor, you know what I mean?
We do that though. I think we do that. But in all frankness, think about that person, because everybody has that person on social media that is so negative on social media, whether it's their political views, or they've been watching the news, or they went outside and they stepped in a rain puddle, or whatever the hell it is. And you don't want to follow them. Nobody really, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to
there's gonna be an uplifting little tidbit for today.
Yeah.
Yes, I know several.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And you mute those, right? I mean, I do. I mute them. I don't necessarily unfriend them. I just kind of mute them because it's not I'm already in it and I don't need to be wallowing in it. I need to be like, I'm searching for something that's going to present some joy or make me chuckle a little bit.
So then maybe I don't know that. So I guess what I'm saying is you're right. I put the highlight reel up. I mean, I'm not putting up, unless it's funny, right? Like the dog rips up my, something that's funny, but no, I don't put up there, all my down stuff either. Mm-hmm. That said, I think that if you look at it for what it is, and understand that is what it is, and that nobody has a perfect life all the time, that they're not all happy 24/7 either. Mm-hmm. But it's not just social media either. It's, every time you go to the doctor, and I get where they're coming from. So don't misunderstand, but it's like, are you happy? Are you sad? Are you depressed? You watch television, you get the same shit. There, with the medications and the this and the that, and and they mean well. So don't get me, I really do believe that they mean well. But then there's other, whether it's movies or whatever, where it's like, you're supposed to be happy all the time. It's like, you're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to be angry. You have to constantly have the smile on your face. And that's just not reality. Even parenting. I mean, that was really confusing for me growing up because, well, once I became a parent, I did not have parents that were always smiling and talking to me as if I was the most important person in the house. In fact, it was usually the reverse. I was to be seen and not heard. If I misbehaved or whatever, I got yelled at. And my whole neighborhood yelled at people. Okay, so it wasn't like just because you weren't their kid doesn't mean you weren't going to get yelled at. If you were doing something, people did those things. So then I become a parent, and all of a sudden I'm not allowed. Not only am I not allowed to yell, but I'm also not allowed to make the scary face, the mom face. That's true. And without giving your kid anxiety, and and I remember Oprah Winfrey. Obviously this like stuck with me forever. She had Dr. What's his face? Phil, I think. Every time you yell, you change your children forever. Every time you yell at your child, you change them forever. Every time you argue in front of your child, you change them forever. I'm not suggesting that. Anyway, it was very confusing to me. And I don't know that's, how do you teach a kid to resolve conflict? And they'll say, well, you teach them by not yelling. That's not also a reality either. And I think that's right. Like, come on, people are my God, you get in the car, people are yelling at you.
Right. How are you going to learn how to handle confrontational people? How are you going to learn how to, I mean, yeah, I learned it from my mom.
Hell yeah, I learned it from my mom. That's where I get my foul mouth and everything else. I don't take any shit. Especially in the car. So don't start with me in the car. If anybody's watching, I could.
No, that was Steve's job. Steve's. Oh, like, wow, that was inventive cursing.
Oh yeah, that's what my kids say about me. Like, I can do some crazy things with her. I can make that rain. And everyone's now, if I'm sitting in the passenger seat, though, I want you to know, and the person driving is acting like me, I'm a wreck. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to get a shot. But for some reason, when I'm driving, if somebody, I got no problem telling you, and I know you can see me in your rear view mirror, So I can't wait to enunciate the type of asshole that I really believe you to be,
That's like deflecting anger right there. I'm so glad that I'm like not in the same state with you.
But with that said, though, again, it's very confusing. And I think, though, I don't think I'm the only one that is like, so if I have emotions and they're negative, then that's bad. I have to curb it. I mean, come on, I'm not talking about having a license to go. I mean, you guys, you know.
But knowing when to filter it, I guess, is what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a filtration system, but it also doesn't mean that you go around going, everything's fine. Everything is great. Everything. I mean, how many times have you seen that? You know, it's just about being real. And I think that that's part of the problem, is that we don't really see that. We don't understand that it's okay to do that. But if you do, you know, the other piece to that is are you constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? So it's like, a perfect example is, you know, with my kids and I was like this, by the way. So let's say I had a 4.0 the first semester. I wouldn't celebrate that, because if I do, then I'm probably not going to have a 4.0 in the second semester. And so really the truth is, you should celebrate the 4.0 in the first semester. And if you don't have it in the second semester, big deal. It was a big deal to have it in the first semester. And I think that is really true for all of us. You know, at least that's been my issue, right? So it's like, oh, today is a great day. Tomorrow could be a bad day. Yeah, it could be. And it's okay to enjoy today. And it's okay to laugh and be silly and enjoy yourself, even if you're in the middle of a crisis, you know, because that's just reality. It's okay to go to a party and have a good time, even if you're going through some sort of a life crisis. Take yourself out of it for a few minutes. Find things that you love. I love to look at my flowers. I love to plant my flowers. I love my animals. You know, I love to, except for right now, they're okay. Well, this is a perfect example. I don't love you right now. I mean, I love you, but I don't like what you're doing, but I'll like you again in 5 minutes. But I'm saying, you know, like, I'll sit there and just kind of acknowledge, like, oh my gosh, how awesome is this? My dog is at my feet. My bird is on my shoulder. And, you know, but that's for me, right? Other people could be something else. Or, oh my gosh, look at that. My foxglove bloomed, and oh my gosh, I moved my hydrangea and it loves it there. You know, that's me. And I know that everybody has something like that, whether it's artwork or it's a jog, it's a hike. You know, I just think we need to really be present, is what I'm saying. And you hear that a lot, but I think I'm just now starting to get what being present is.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, it definitely is doing something creative. And for a while, though, I didn't have anything because it became my livelihood. And so I had to find another way to be, and I know we've talked about this before, but I needed another outlet. So sometimes it is looking at tile for the restroom, or it's moving furniture around in my office, or it's just trying to, sometimes it's coloring.
Right. Coloring's a big deal for people. My mom does that.
Yeah, it's very cathartic for me. So it is being creative, but having different outlets for it, because photography obviously isn't it for me anymore, because now that's a source of income, and it sometimes can be a source of stress because it's a business. And as you know, as a business owner, it isn't just, a photographer is 50% creative and 50% being a business owner. Sometimes it's 70%. So yeah, it's finding ways to finding something that is cathartic, something that allows you to just take your mind off of things. So yeah, I love, well, and I think too, so you're an artist in different ways, and one of them is your garden. If you've ever been to Heather's house, it's like, it is so tranquil, her front garden. I love it.
Thank you.
Mhm. I wish I had that talent. I don't.
You actually, you do. I think you have other priorities. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? But that is something though that you say that that is something every time I plant something, every time, and the vision has changed a million. I should say this, I've done a million different things, and some things are meant to be and some things aren't, right? So like
Mhm.
it's wild. So, 2 weeks ago my entire garden was pink. Now it's all yellow. And I didn't plan it like that. It's just that those are the things that liked it there. And there is something for me anyway that's exciting about, oh, hey, they like that there. Or I have plants from relatives from Virginia. I've got plants from, people in California even, and to have them, you know,
Mhm.
come up. But the other thing too is for me, now again, this is me. I try and create this little oasis for myself and my family because we don't have that everywhere, right? So it's busy. There's just whatever. So my house is not perfect. Going to Italy was such a great experience in so many levels. One of them was having this imperfect home that is still really welcoming and warm and um, um, beautiful and tranquil. When we were in Italy, there's so many places there that were, you can't. It's not like America where everything is brand shiny new.
Mhm.
Here in Pennsylvania, it's like if your house isn't updated every so often, or blah 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 blah, you can't sell it and all this stuff. Everything has to be new. And in Italy, that just wasn't the case. It was, and the same thing with like paint and things like that. It's very rustic there. So, and I love the idea of, putting a beautiful chandelier in a room that maybe is distressed, you know. So, you don't have to have this perfect place. You don't have to spend a shit ton of money. But you can still create something that's unique and special to you where you feel really comfortable. And so I try to do that here as much as I can. It's not, nobody has anything perfect, right? And it's not, but it's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be a little oasis where I feel like we can come, and we can live, and be peaceful and feel good, light a candle,
Mhm.
whatever. um and my garden is part of that.
Yeah, it is.
you know and then in the winter it's not.
Then you just count the days until it's like spring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what else too? Every spring, I have my beautiful roses are surrounded by thistles,
Mhm.
big ass thistles, like ginormous thistles. And I really believe, and some people are like, oh my God, the thistles. But you know what? Those thistles protect my roses in unchartered, when the weather is volatile.
Yeah.
And really that's I think that's I mean, that's like a metaphor, isn't it?
Mhm.
Beauty in the thistles, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Sometimes you do have to go through those hardships or those trials and tribulations because it really highlights the beauty and it reminds you to be grateful.
yes, yes. And it does nurture.
Mhm.
How can you have gratitude and happiness if you've never not
Right.
experienced hardship, right? Like that, we've talked about that with empathy. People
Mhm.
who don't have a lot of empathy or sympathy are generally people that have never had any kind of hardship, right? It's just like the person that's never been late. How
Mhm.
can you be late? I'm never late. Well, I think, and that's wonderful. I'm very proud of you, but do you have things in your life that perhaps, I mean, I would love that too, but I don't have the kind of lifestyle that supports that as much as I would love for that to happen. So when somebody is late, I have it all the time with my clients.
Mhm.
I'm very, I have a lot of grace for people, and and I get and like, and I would get from a business level, that's stupid. But from a human level, I get it, like it's, but then again, if you look at the late fees for what they truly are, it's no longer a punishment to get a late fee, right? It's just a reality. It's the reality of this life.
Right. So, yeah, I think we beat up ourselves a lot. And it just this is something that happened, and okay, I'm going to pay a late fee.
I mean, shit, what you gonna do? Oh, Iris. It's gonna be bad when she eats through the cord. I'm just saying.
What is that? Was that
that's my laptop.
Oh my God. That's good.
Yeah. I think it's time for you two to go get a life outside of this office. Okay. Before we move on or end this, where are we on our points, on our Richter scale of points?
I think we just kind of covered it, is that we just realized that life isn't always the highlight reel, and that you are not to compare yourself.
Right.
And then also, if you are going to do a highlight reel, add some of the real life stuff to it. Because those hardships are what make the good parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think actually you have a really good point there, because when you first said that, I was like, ooh, no, because the highlight reel is supposed to make you feel good when you look back on it. Truth of the matter is then by not acknowledging the parts that have been rough, that's really not, again, you're still living fake, right? Like it's a fake.
Well, I mean, these are things that define you.
Right.
These are defining moments. So it's not always like.
Right. I do want to mention something on that, okay? Because the takeaway, we always try and give, what's the takeaway from our session today, from our episode today? I heard something over the weekend that I thought was really profound, and I actually wrote it down. Now, the source of it was not my favorite movie, but it was an okay movie. It was 80 for Brady. Okay, I don't know if you saw. Did you see 80 for Brady? No. Why do I ask you? You don't watch shows?
Yeah, I don't watch TV, and I don't even. I can't. Probably the last time I saw a movie, or even in a theater, was when my kids were little. It's not something I.
Right. I saw 80 for Brady though. So, and I wanted to see it because it's with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin and Rita Moreno and Sally Field. And I think it's great that these women have been so active, making films and things.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so one of the things is Tom Brady says something to him, in the movie or whatever, he is giving a pep talk, and he's saying, when we are that behind, when I'm that down and out in a game, okay, I don't look at it like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. How will I come back from this? I look at it as, I'm going to come back from this. And this is going to be a defining moment for me. And right. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come back from this. And not only am I coming back, but it's going to be a defining moment for me. I mean, you can use that in anything. And it is going to be a defining moment. For me, that's the biggest takeaway. Right. And also, again, making sure that you are present for the good, and taking advantage of those moments of gratitude and beauty and peace, or whatever the hell it is. It could just be, you had a damn good drink today. I'm going to kill the dogs. I'm going to kill them. And they finally got rid of them, and now they're scratching to come back in. Come here, Iris. Let the world see who is giving us all this trouble. Here's one. Did you look at the little face? It's hard to believe she's so bad. She's actually not. She's a joy. Another one of my my beautiful spots in the storm. Even though she pees on the floor. I'm not doing it. Well, because you're not allowed to potty train the way you used to. When I grew up, they would say, negative reinforcement. The dog pees in the house and you punish them. Today, you don't do that. Today, you just give them positive reinforcement for going outside to go to the bathroom. And that makes sense, but I don't think she knows what the hell I'm praising her for out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She's literally like, I'm like, oh, Irish, you're doing so great. As she squats, she's like, what?
We crate trained. I don't know if that's something that you do, but that worked for us.
I crate train. She's really good. Like she and Ollie sleep all night in the crate and stuff. But do you mean like you keep them in the crate? Because I did read that. Something about you keep them in the crate and then you let them out to go to the bathroom. If they go out, they go to the bathroom, they get to be out of the crate. But if they don't go to the bathroom, they go back in the crate. I did read that.
It's been a while. Like all my dogs are pretty much gone now. I have one left, but I'm trying to think back now because it's been so long. We would do little bits at a time, so they learn how to hold it. So you would do 2 hours, and because they don't like to pee where they are living, so then you do it, and then you do it like 1 hour, 2 hours, and if they continue to not pee or then you like start leaving the door open, and then you I don't like it. I'm sorry, it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, now you know how I feel.
I
haven't had to potty train either in like 15 years. Because Jackalope was 15. Wow. And even then I didn't have to potty train him because I had potty trained Coco and Pebbles, and they taught him how to go outside. Now I got this goddamn beagle running around telling everybody it's a free-for-all. And this is what we do. Watch this. And now let's go hide under the couch and wait for her. That's the fun part. And this one's too big to get under the couch, so her ass is out hanging like this. I have bad children. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I did read that about the crate training, and then
yeah, you do it in small increments, and then they learn how to hold it till they go outside.
Right. That's what she needs.
That's the thing.
That's what she needs, because she can hold it. She's 6 months now. But we didn't get her till she was 5 months. So there's all of that. And like Chris had taken her out. Nobody wants to hear this story, but okay. We took her out, and Chris is like, she's a very young 6-month-old dog, because she was, she wasn't trained or anything for that time. She was living on the farm. And it took us 3 weeks just for her to appreciate the fact that she's ours now. And we weren't going she wasn't even going to go out in the front door. We couldn't get her to go back out, couldn't get her in the house. And then we couldn't get her out the front door, because I swear she's like, I'm not going back to that farm. So, now she finally trusts that we're going to keep her. Right. So I don't know. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say other than, if you like us, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification. We didn't do that.
No, we didn't.
I don't know. What else is
like what you see, like, share and subscribe, or like hit the like button.
Share and subscribe.
And subscribe.
And subscribe.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And then put in the comments for us anything that any comments you have, please. We love them. It's a great, we don't know everything, clearly. So if you know something, or you have any thoughts on something, please share it with us and anybody else that's watching this, right? Because that's how we all grow and learn and take away. So we really encourage you to comment, and until we see you next time. All right. We're signing off, everybody. Have a good one.